Yo, what's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. I am going to be talking this Monday about Extreme Balance. This is a signed copy. I'm giving 2 signed copies away on both my Facebook and Instagram. Like those posts, and I'll give away a copy tonight. It does come out tomorrow. You can pre-order on Amazon, and I believe when it says comes out tomorrow, it means that believes they are done, and they start shipping tomorrow. So then you should have it a couple days later. So why? Should obviously make the why Extreme Balance. Why is it great? Why do you need it? And so this is an idea that's been in my head for a long time. And if you guys don't know the story, I did a podcast with Joe DeCina, and after the podcast, he called me and said, "Hey, it sounds like a great idea. Is that something you'd like to pursue writing about?" And I said, "Yeah, I've been trying. I'm not a very good writer, and I've been trying to find someone to help me do it, and I haven't been successful to this point. But I would absolutely love to." And so Joe started making connections. We connected with Dr. David Sachs, who's a PhD in sports psychology, and we went to work on it. So why will it help you? And I'm just going to kind of pinpoint a few areas of my career, and it is kind of based off a few of the chapters. But, in order to really utilize this book, you got to have self-awareness. And that's something some kids don't have. And I think maybe because they think if they have it, it's maybe too damaging to their ego to be totally honest about it. Honest about themselves, that is. And so I'll give you just 2 quick areas. So, one is when to push through the pain and when to pull back the reins. And I'll tell you one on each side for me and, where I made the change. Earlier in my career, I had some neck issues. And, when you get I don't know if you guys had a stinger, but if you get a stinger, a lot of times it's, for me at least, and I think a lot of other wrestlers, it's when you shoot in, you hit like a knee or a hip and boom, your head like knocks back a little bit, and it kind of pinches the discs back there, and that pinches the nerves, and that's what a stinger is. And a stinger is immensely painful for like 3 minutes. It freaking burns. It's like there's fire going down your arm, and then generally it goes away, right? And you could resume activity if you want. Well, I had so many because the thing is, once that nerve gets inflamed, once you hit it, it's more likely to get hit again and again and again and again. And so one time, I did it so many times, I think I've told this story, but I was trying to lift weights like that month, a day after or something, and I couldn't bench press anything. Like, I don't know, at the time, my max was somewhere over 200 pounds, and I couldn't bench 135 pounds. I couldn't move the bar. It was ridiculous. And so I had hit my arm so many times that I had lost all strength. I was hitting the nerves, right? The nerves stopped sending signals to the arm. The arm got totally weak. And so then I had to take a whole bunch, I think it was like 6, I'd take like 6 or 8 weeks off. And so right in the beginning, I should have said, "Hey man, I just need a couple days off to let the stinger heal." And I probably could have even done light activity, just probably not live wrestling, where I could have drilled or sparred. And then the nerve would have calmed down. I wouldn't have got repetitive stingers, and boom, I would have been fine if I would have been smarter. And so then on the flip side of that was, my senior year of college, and I tell this story in the book, I hurt my rib at Big 12s, like in the finals. You heard it in the match, and I felt it pop. There's a popping noise in there. I felt it pop, and I thought, oh man, that sucks. And in a match, there's adrenaline, and you're not going to feel it, but then the next day you wake up, you're like, ribs are the worst, because you can't do anything without your ribs, right? You can't be breathing, and it's like someone's stabbing you in the rib. If it's an ankle or an elbow or a shoulder, you can stay off it. You can avoid it. You can do other things with the rib. No, there's no avoiding or staying off it. It's like, it sucks. You sit up in the morning, you're like, it's terrible. And so I hurt my rib. And so I had the discussion with my coaches, and I was old enough to the point where they trusted me with my own body, and they trusted me. I said, "Listen, if I feel like this and I'm wrestling at nationals, it's going to be really, really hard to win." I said, I can take the next 10 days off. It will likely be mostly healed. I'll be in a little worse shape, right? My shape won't be great, but I can win in bad shape. But if I feel like this, I don't know if I can win. I don't know if I can win a tournament like this. I might be able to, but I think it's not as likely. And so they let me kind of do by my own recommendations. I took the next 10 days off. The first time I wrestled after Big 12s was when I wrestled my first match at NCAAs. Right? I didn't get on the mat for 10 days. I biked and I ran and I did other stuff. And you know what? It did show. I was very exhausted in my semi and my final match, but I was able to push through and get the victory because I was healthy enough to do so. right? So that's when to push through the pain and when to pull back the reins. And, and that's a story about where I tried to push back too much. And then once I realized I was almost being too tough, and right, a lot of wrestlers, they do this and where they almost make their injuries worse because it's such a badge of honor to be tough in wrestling. And obviously you need toughness. This is not me saying you don't need to be tough. You do need to be tough. And if it's a bruise or something, keep on pushing. Or I'll tell you one more story. Just because I didn't tell a push to the pain story, but I'll tell one now about me. And it was my Carl Amasu fight, so it would have been the 11th fight in my mixed martial arts career, and I was defending title. And this dude was talking so much trash, and I was beating the life out of him. I think he had to get like 37 stitches or something. Cause I finally learned how to use my elbows. Elbows cut people in MMA. So if you're going to fight, I don't recommend fighting, but if you are going to fight, you need to learn how to use your elbows. But at the end of the second round, he was in half guard on bottom, and he kind of like pressed back to try to get up, and my toe dug in there, and my toe dislocated, like snapped side. It was straight sideways, and I knew if I said something that they would stop the fight, because that's what, right? If stuff like that happens, they generally stop the fight. You think about John Jones and Chael Sonnen, and kind of the same thing happened where John knew he needed to finish the fight before they were to stop it. I think his toe was broken, not dislocated, if I remember correctly. But anyways, so the round ends, and I get up, and I kind of reach down, and I kind of use my hand to cover my foot, and I I pulled it out. Right? That sucker went back in the socket. It did come back out later that night, in which case, but then I was able to tape it, right? Because I don't believe you can actually tape something during the fight. I don't think that's legal. But so I knew, hey, I got to push through the pain here. This sucks. I just dislocated my toe, but I can't tell anyone about it because if I do that, they're going to stop the fight. I'm going to lose by TKO. That's because that's what happens, right? If you have to stop the fight due to injury, you lose via technical knockout. I'm beating this dude up, and so then it's like, okay, I did that. Then the next round, it's like I got to put the heat on him, and I was able to finish him in the next round. Right, so sometimes you're in the heat of it, you got to push through it, and sometimes you got to know when to pull it back. And those things are not mutually exclusive. You don't have to be one or the other, right? And sometimes, if you're one who pushes through and you make yourself worse, that's going to hurt you. But if you're someone who doesn't know how to push yourself because you're too wimpy, that's going to hurt you too, right? So you need both sides of this dichotomy. This is what the whole book is about. It's about understanding both sides and balancing them to help yourself have maximum amount of success. Okay, so the other story, and this is maybe kind of like the first one I'm going to tell. The first one. The first time I started really thinking about this, this was when I was younger, but this is kind of like as I got older, I realized this within myself, and it manifested is sometimes people who are perfectionists who want success too bad, and so this is caring deeply and keeping it in perspective. My freshman year of high school, I went all into wrestling when no one was all in. Nobody. It didn't exist. People were not all in yet at this point. There was no clubs. There was a club in the spring, and then in May it was like you're on your own. I got to map my basement. I got to find people to wrestle or go to camps or whatever. And so, hey, you're on your own. Okay, figure it out. And so I put in so much time, and I bombed at Fargo. I went 0-2 my first time at Fargo, and it's like Fargo is this big tournament with an illustrious history. If you do really well, you're lucky to get college scholarships. College coaches are all in the stands. They're all watching. And I crapped the bed. And a big part of it was I didn't keep it in perspective. I cared too deeply. Cared way too deeply. I trained so hard. I was so into it. And one of my coaches afterwards, Terry Steiner, I believe he's the United States women's national team coach, he sat me down and he said, hey, I had the same problem. He said I had competition anxiety because I cared too much. He knew I cared, right? Because I cared too much, I would build it up in my head, and I would blow it out of perspective. I'd think, if I lost, it's the end of the world. If I lost, I'm never going to go to college, or, whatever, something like that. It made me compete really terribly, so I had to learn to keep it in perspective. And so he said his way was doing it by talking about fishing. It's like, I hate fishing, but I get your point, and I will find something else to think about, talk about. And so, that 30 minutes to an hour before the match, it's like, just get your mind relaxed. You already know how to wrestle. You already know how to do what you do. And I kept this really, that was probably 15 at the time. So, from age 16 to the rest of my competitive career, this is something that I found to be of the utmost importance, right? Was to be able to keep my mind relaxed going into a competition. Because I cared a lot. right? And most people don't reach high levels unless they care a lot. Right? You have to care about something to wake up every single day and work really hard at it. If you don't care about it, it's really unlikely you wake up every day and you work hard at it. And so that was a really, really big one for me, was being able to keep things in perspective, and it really helped me immensely. So that would be one of the first ones where I started thinking about this dichotomy. Is like, well, I have to have both these things. I have to be able to care deeply, or I'm not going to wake up and work hard, and I have to be able to keep in perspective, or I'm not going to compete well. And I have to balance both these things, both sides. So that was a little insight into extreme balance. It is challenging. We have to have self-awareness about ourselves. Get it? You guys can go like my Facebook and Instagram posts. Those are on my personal pages. I'll be giving away a couple signed copies tonight. And then tomorrow the book comes out for real. So go order on Amazon. Appreciate you guys always watching Mental Mondays. I'm out of here. Peace.